So this is actually my video review of Resistance Retribution for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. I've actually finally got to play this game and I got Platinum on both of these games. I highly recommend you actually get this game. This is actually created by Ben Studios. In terms of storyline, compared to the PlayStation 3 exclusively, Resistance Fall of Man from the PlayStation 3, Resistance Retribution was a PSP exclusive but now has finally come on PSN console exclusives for the PS5 and PlayStation 4, maybe on PC emulator if you want to push that far, but I finally got to play this game on Resistance Retribution. They finally updated with the Infection playthrough. The story takes approximately a few months or few weeks after the events of the first game, and it actually ties off before Resistance 2 with the Nathan Hale story, and you actually get to play as Jack Grayson. In terms of story and dialogue, this is actually a huge improvement from the first game. Definitely, I can see why a lot of Resistance fans prefer Resistance Retribution. There's a lot more dialogue, a lot more depth, and a lot more backstory than ever before. It's a darn shame that this game was actually a PSP exclusive. There was even talk about having an HD port of a PlayStation 3 version, but never got made, and now it's finally there, with trophy support that you'll definitely have for the PS4 and PlayStation 5. In terms of storyline, the story is just top-notch. It's just way better than the improvement than any other Resistance games that I've played of. Definitely, if you're a huge fan of Resistance Fall of Man and Resistance 2 and 3, Resistance Retribution, if you never touched this game, back in 2009, I really wanted to play this game. It's a huge, definitely a huge improvement. I definitely liked it. In terms of audio and sort of visual effects, the audio quality is very improving. That I know. There's a lot of ambience and a lot of good atmosphere, very similar to Resistance 1, if not better. When it comes to visual effects, it's obviously a PSP version. It feels like you're playing literally a PSP version, and then they just slammed it with an HD texture pack, and you're basically, you feel like you're playing a PlayStation 2 console. This is a very unique game, a very unique gameplay. Graphics a bit hinky, but I didn't care. It was the atmosphere, the gameplay, as well as sound, audio, and quality was definitely top-notch. For a PSP handheld device that was ported on console for the PlayStation 5 is definitely a huge improvement. You'll definitely have a good investment. There should be at least a replay value. There's actually an Infection mode, as well as ordinary gameplay playthrough. And there's some unique dialogue from the Infection playthrough. It feels like a New Game Plus. I've actually played the original playthrough as well as the Infection mode playthrough. Not much huge difference, just a few audio quality improvements. Something that was very unique when it was released for the PSP, because you had to have a PlayStation 3 as well as the latest PSP handheld devices, so on and so forth. I'm not a huge fan of the PSP handheld devices because the controllers aren't that very improvement. The biggest drawback out of it all is the fact that the controls are a bit stiffy when you're playing the joystick controller. You'll get used to it, but it's not very improving. Obviously, this was meant for a PSP handheld device, and as much as I love it, the graphics, the gameplay, joystick controller is a bit off-match for a gaming's atmosphere. This game should have been just a PlayStation 3, let alone it should have been a PlayStation 3 engine for the original Resistance. This game was actually surprisingly way better than Resistance Fall of Man. If Fall of Man has a sort of a standalone campaign, then this game has more dialogue, more atmospheric. The biggest drawback out of this port version is there's no multiplayer components. They've actually updated with the Infection mod with 3 trophy lists on the game. And as for replay value, when it comes to gameplay wise, it takes approximately, I'd say, 20 hours to beat this game, especially when you want to play this game a lot. I actually enjoyed it a lot. The atmosphere is just top notch. So if you've never touched this game before and you obviously was hugely desperate at the time when I heard this was only PSP exclusive, I basically just felt Sony were just shitting in their pockets. Back then, people were pushing off for the PSP exclusive and fighting against Nintendo and so on and so forth. Obviously, Sony failed miserably because PSP Vita and so on and so forth hasn't sold very well, and they just disbanded after that. So people aren't very much to do so. So with that said in mind, if you really want to play this game, I highly recommend it that you definitely get Resistance Retribution. You'll understand exactly what I mean. This is actually a good game. Definitely worth buck. I paid this for at least $10 and it felt well worth the wait. I've replayed the game twice for the PS5 and PS4 and I got a 2 trophy platinum list. It's a blast. It definitely is. It's a darn shame that you don't have any multiplayer components on the game. No co-op or anything like that, but what the heck. It's a really great game. Definitely a must buy. For a Resistance fan at least.